In this brief tutorial, we're going to look at how to fill in the details of a storyboard, which looks like this, using Adobe's InDesign. The panels of the storyboard have been created using Adobe Illustrator and it's saved out as a PDF. We need to be able to load the PDF into InDesign so we can fill in all the details. We've started off with a short TV commercial of 15 seconds. I've got the QuickTime player open at the moment. And if I pull the playhead along, you can see the various scene changes in this. Every time there's been a change of scene or a new shot, what we've done is taken a screen grab of it. The exercise is to actually deconstruct a TV commercial by creating a storyboard so we can get an appreciation of how the TV commercial might have been put together. I need to take some screen grabs of all these individual shots in the TV commercial so I can load them into the storyboard panels. To do that on the Mac, all I need to do is hold down the Shift key, the Command key and number 4, and you'll see that the cursor is going to turn into a kind of bullseye. So Shift Command 4, and then all I need to do is click in a corner and draw a big rectangle around the area that I want to take the screen grab of. Something like that. And that'll put itself on the desktop as a screenshot. So there it is there. I'll just hit the space bar. You can have a quick look at that. And that's what we're going to load in to the storyboard template using InDesign. Next, what I do is pull the playhead along to the next scene change or the next shot that I want to describe in the storyboard panel, which is probably this. Again, Shift Command 4. I'll start from the top left hand corner this time. Just pull down a rectangle. Let go of the mouse. Left button, let go of that. And we've got ourselves another screenshot. So I just work my way right through the TV commercial and grab the screenshots as I need them. There's another one there. I grab that one, probably grab that one, and so on. Then what I do is I just drag them into my TVCs folder. I've already got a whole bunch of them in here that I took previously. And you should end up with as many screen grabs as you need to fill in every single storyboard panel to depict every change, every new shot in the TV commercial. So I'll just drag those in there. Now we need to open up Adobe InDesign. I've already got it running. And it comes up with this little panel here. It asks me if I want to create a new document. The only reason you may not see this panel is if somebody's clicked this Don't Show Again box down here, in which case you can make a new document by going up here to the menu, Create New Document. Since I'm here, I'll do that. Create New Document. I'm going to make it A4 because that's the size of my storyboard template. I'm going to make it a landscape format. Turn off facing pages. Click OK. At the moment, there's palettes and toolbars hiding everything, so I'm just going to move this across. Just grab the drag bar up the top there and go down the bottom right hand corner and just resize it. Just click on that corner and just resize it so I can see everything. Makes life a little bit easier to navigate around. Now I've got one page and I've got a master page. Master pages are really cool because I can put my storyboard template onto the master page, and then every subsequent page that I make in here is going to have that storyboard template as its background. You'll notice A master has been applied to page 1. There's a little A up the top there. So I'm going to double click on A master, and now what I see in the main editing area is actually the A master page. It's not page 1. I'm going to grab the storyboard panel and I'm going to stick that in my A master page. There's two ways of doing this. I can just grab it and drag it like this. I'm going to have to click one more time. At the moment this window is active and InDesign is not active, so I need to click anywhere in InDesign to bring it to the front and make it active. You'll notice that the storyboard PDF has attached itself to the cursor as a little thumbnail. I'm just going to move up to the top left hand corner and click with the left mouse button and it applies it. It's a little bit hard to see, but if you move up to page 1, you can see a tiny little thumbnail. That's actually a representation of the storyboard panels. We actually put the storyboard panels into a master page, but it's applied it to page 1, considering page 1 is actually based on the A master page. There's another way of putting these things in, and I'll show you that. I'm just going to delete this so I can show you the other way. You go to the File menu, and you go to Place. Command D is the shortcut. And you just navigate your way through to where you've got your storyboard panels, which is in my TVCs folder. So I'll click on that, go open. Same sort of thing, it attaches itself to the cursor as a little thumbnail, and I can click. Before I clicked in the top left hand corner to place it exactly where I wanted it, but I'm just going to show you how you can move it if you accidentally don't get it quite right. So let's supposing I click here and it's not quite in the right position. I need to be able to drag it into the top left hand corner, and to do that I make sure I have the arrow tool selected, the main arrow tool, not the one that's got white in the middle of it, but the one that's got black. Then I can just click and drag that. Just before I go any further, some of you may have your toolbar not looking like this with 2 columns. There's a couple of tiny little triangles or arrows in the top right hand corner of the toolbar. Your toolbar might actually look like this, a single column. If it does and you want to change it, you click those 2 little arrows. First click makes it go horizontal. Click it again and it'll end up as 2 columns. That's the way I prefer to work. Okay, so our storyboard PDF has been applied to our master page. There's also a whole heap of other stuff that we probably want to have appear on every single page, and that would be the name of the producer, the working title, the date, the total number of pages, because we're going to have individual page numbers here, like page 1 of 10, that sort of thing. So the total number of pages is not going to change. So we probably want to have that on our master page. We'll grab the type tool, and what we're going to do is drag out a box to put the text into. All text must be in boxes. So I'm going to click with my left mouse button and draw out a box. Just like that. You can see the cursor flashing. And notice that the box has actually got dotted blue lines around the outside. That tells me that I'm actually operating in the master page view. So the producer would be you type in whatever your producer's name is. I probably want to move that box down a bit. I need to get out of the type tool and I need to go back to this black selection tool arrow. V is the shortcut on the keyboard. Don't type it yet, because if you type V at the moment you'll just stick V's into the text because you're still editing. What you need to do is actually click on that arrow. I need to move it down a bit, so I can just click it and drag it down. I can use the nudge keys on my keyboard, the down arrow key, just to nudge it into place. Go back to the type tool, click on that. Need to draw myself another box for working title, and I'm using it InDesign CS6 at the moment, and I've got all these guidelines that have popped up, which is pretty handy. Working title, Holden TVC, Holden TV commercial. Now, the page numbers. I'm not going to fill in the individual page because that's going to change on every single individual page. I do want the total number of pages, so I'll draw a box for that. And at the moment I'm just going to throw in an arbitrary number. I don't know how many pages I'm going to wind up with, but I can change it later. I'm just going to say 10 pages, and I'll have to change that later on. I probably want to put the date in here. That's going to stay the same on every page. So let's do that. Today being the 4th of March 2013. There's a thing here called the reference number that you can use if this storyboard is to be read in conjunction with other paperwork. I'm going to leave that out for the moment because we don't have any reference number, but if you needed to put it in, you can always come back to the master page and stick it in there. The client is probably going to be GMH, Holden, General Motors Holden. All this other stuff, the actual panels themselves, the shot numbers, the time code, start and end for each shot, location, time, dialogue, etc. All that stuff's going to be filled in on individual pages, so I'm not going to change it at the moment. I'm not going to add anything to the master page. Let's go to page 1 and have a look at that, and it looks exactly the same as the master page. As I said before, these boxes that have got text in them, they've got dotted lines around the outside to tell us that it's loaded into the master page and not part of page 1. Information that's going to be unique to every single page will be the individual page numbers, so I'm going to drag a box around for the page numbers there. This is actually being applied to page number 1, not the master, so I'm going to call that page number 1. Some other things I need to change: the shot number would be like this. Shot number 1. I'm just going to move this box down a bit because the type is a bit too high, so I'll go back to the selection tool, the black arrow, and I'm just going to click it and drag it and move it down and across to the right a bit, and use my arrow keys on my keyboard to nudge it into position. I also need to have a start and an end for my time code. Rather than grabbing hold of the type tool and drawing another box, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click in the middle of this box that I've made before. It's active at the moment. It's got this blue line with the little white boxes. They're little handle things. You can grab them and resize like that. Just put that back. I'm just going to click in the middle of it with the black arrow tool, hold down the Option key and the Shift key, and I'm going to drag it across to the right. So I need to make it wider, so I'm going to grab this handle here on the right hand side, click on that and drag it so it becomes wider. Now I'm just going to check that everything fits before I duplicate this again for the end time code. I'm going to grab the type tool and I'm going to click in here and replace this 1 with a 0, because the time code format is 0 for hours, 00 for minutes, 00 for seconds, and 00 for frames. Using the PAL TV system, which has 25 frames per second, we can't have any numbers in here bigger than 24, because when you get to 25 frames it would actually kick over to 1 second and this would return back to 0, so you'd end up with 1 second. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of that and put it back to all zeros, and I'm going to duplicate that by, again, I've grabbed the arrow tool, I'm going to click in there, hold down the Shift and the Option keys and just drag a copy across. It's a little bit too far to the right, so I'm going to use the left arrow key on my keypad and just move it across a bit. There we go. Alright, that one's done. I need to put a text box down here for location and time and dialogue and all the rest of it, so back to the type tool, click and drag out a box with some text to go there. Same with dialogue. Click out a dialogue box, stick that there. Any notes you want to make about sound effects, like there might be an explosion sound or something, hopefully not in the Holden TV commercial, but you might want to just make a note about sound effects, so you just leave a box for that. Any visual effects that you want to make notes about, you can also do that. Didn't quite get that right, so I'm going to grab the arrow tool and just move that handle a little bit wider. There we go. And one more for the comments. Click and drag out a box for comments. Now the last thing I need to do is put a placeholder box in here so I can put in my screen grabs. And I'm going to use this box here, which is the rectangle tool. Now what I need to do is to fill this rectangle with some sort of colour. I'm going to use grey, and I don't want a line around the outside of it. These gadgets here represent our fill, and the one at the back represents our stroke. If I wanted to actually add some stroke, I'd click on it and it would come to the front, and then I could apply a colour to it. Down here is the quick colour, or the last colour used, so I could apply a black stroke to that. At the moment it's got no fill, it's got a white box with a red diagonal line. This is actually not what I want. I'm going to make sure the stroke has nothing applied to it by clicking on the Apply None gadget. Notice we've got a square with a red diagonal line. Now I need to go to the fill. I'll click on that to bring that to the front to make it active. My comments box is the last thing I created, and it's active at the moment. I need to deselect that. You can see it's activated by the little white squares in the corners. I'm just going to click outside and that will deselect that. Now I need to draw a rectangle in this first panel. I've made sure that I've got my fill color set and no stroke. Remember, if you need to change those things, click on the one you want and either use the Apply Color or Apply None gadget. So stroke has got applied none and the fill has got black at the moment. I'm going to go up to the rectangle tool, click on that, and I'm just going to click and drag out a rectangle that roughly fits into this storyboard panel. And I get a black rectangle. Now that's okay, I can leave that there. Personally I prefer to perhaps use grey, so I'll just go to the colour palette, which is over here on the right. By the way, if you can't see any of these things, you can find them by going up to the window menu. There's colour there. With this rectangle selected, I'm just going to drop its opacity down so it looks grey. Now I'm going to duplicate all this stuff that's in this first panel. I'm going to do shot 1, start, end, and all this other stuff. I'm just going to click about here, hold down the left mouse button and draw what's called a marquee around all this stuff that I just created, and it'll select all of them. Notice they've all got their handles highlighted, so they're all selected. The other way you could do it, I'm just going to click outside to deselect that. The other way you could do it is to click the first one, hold down the Shift key, and just keep clicking with the Shift key held down. It's a bit of a slower way of doing things, but it works okay. Now I'm going to duplicate all this by holding down the Option key and move it all to the right. I'm also going to hold down the Shift key. That constrains it from moving up and down because I want it to be in the same vertical alignment as I move it across the page. So I'm going to hold down the Option key and the Shift key, click with the left mouse button and drag it to the right. Grabs everything in one go, and I'll just leave it there. While it's still highlighted, I'm going to duplicate it again by holding down the Option and the Shift key, click the left mouse button and move everything to the right. I'll use the right arrow key on my keyboard just to nudge it into position. One thing that I should have done ages ago is to save this document. Probably the first thing I should have done when I created it. It's always a good idea to save early and then keep saving so you don't lose anything in case the power goes off or something like that, or the computer crashes. So I'm going to save as, and we'll stick that into our TVCs folder. I'll just call it Holden TVC Storyboard. Click Save, and I'm going to go back to my Pages view by clicking up here where it says Pages in this master palette. If you can't see the Pages view, can't see the master palette, again you can find it by going to Window, up in the menu bar, and just select Pages from there. So far what we've got a master page which we've applied some text to because it's going to be common to every single page, and we've got page 1 which is based on that master page, and it's got space for information that's going to be unique to every page. Now what we need to do is to pop in some images that we've done screen grabs. We've got them in our folder here. There they are. And you would have a number of these, as many as you need for the whole TVC. I've only done the first 6 or 7 or so. A couple of those are actually duplicates. So a couple of ways of doing this. We click on one of them and just drag it across into our storyboard. So click it across. Now it comes in too big. Just click on it again to make InDesign active. It's come in too big, so what I need to do is I need to go up to the Object menu and go to Fitting, and what I want to do is fit the content to the frame. So make it fit, and there it is. I need to do the same for the second panel, so I'll grab the second illustration, or the second screen grab, drag that in. Again, it comes out too big. Click to make InDesign active. Object, Fitting, Fit Content to Frame. And then we got the third one. Rather than click and drag this time, I'll show you the other way of importing. And you go up to File menu and you go Place. Command D is a shortcut. And to find the third image and go Open. And again, it's too big. Object, Fitting, Fit Content to Frame. Done. Let's save this. Good idea to save regularly. Now we can use this page 1 and duplicate it for every other page. Down the bottom of the Pages palette, we've got a little gadget here that says Create New Page. If I click on it, I'll get a page that's based on the master page, but it won't have any of the other stuff in it that I added on page 1. So I don't really want to do that. So I'll just toss that in the bin. What I really want to do is to use this new page gadget, but I want to drag page 1 over the top of it. And instead of creating a new page from scratch, it'll duplicate page 1. So now page 2 looks like page 1. Now what's handy about that is I can add the rest of my screen grabs into these panels, and I won't have to bother about changing the fitting to make the graphic fit the frame. It remembers from last time when I did it. So let's go to screenshot number 4, and when I drag that into this left hand panel, it fits straight away. I don't have to worry about changing the fitting. Let's grab screenshot number 5, drag that into the middle panel. Number 6, drag that into the middle panel. I'm going to click back into InDesign to make it active, and I'm going to save it. So that's what you do. You work your way right through until you exhausted your supply of screen grabs. So you would end up with one panel per shot in your TV commercial. There's the first 3. Let's just change that. I need to change the shot numbers, so I'll grab the type tool. Shot 1 can stay the same. Shot 2, move over here to shot 3. Change to page 2. This one's going to be shot 4. Shot 5. Shot 6. And so on. I'm just going to go back to page 1. And what I do for my time code, for example, if this first scene or first shot lasted for 1.5 seconds, I'd type in the end at 1 second, and we're working on 25 frames a second, so half a second's about 12 frames. Pop that in there. Starts off at 0 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds, 0 frames, and it ends at 0 hours, 0 minutes, 1 second and 12 frames. Shot 2 takes over, so its start time is going to be the same as the end time of shot 1. So 0 hours, 0 minutes, 1 second and 12 frames. It may end at 2.5 seconds, so I'd put the end time in at 2:12. So that's a full second between 1.5 seconds, or 1 second and 12 frames, 2 seconds and 12 frames. Shot 3 is going to start off where the end of shot 2 left off, so we'll have 2 seconds, 12 frames. And you'd work your way through to the very end of the whole storyboard just doing this. This might go to 4 seconds. Now I'm not, at the moment I'm just guessing, because what I should have done was, way back when I was watching my TV commercial and pulling the playhead along, I should have taken notice of the time code. This is QuickTime Player 7 and the time code's down here in the bottom left hand corner. Same sort of format as minutes, seconds. They've missed out on the frames, so I'm just going to guess. Don't really have to be super accurate for this exercise. If you're using QuickTime Player 10, there'll be a controller bar sitting in the middle of the screen which you can drag down to a corner somewhere. It'll have time code in that. Okay, so you need to make note of all the time code. If there's any dialogue, any voiceover, you would have to transcribe that, and that would appear in your dialog box. You'd fill in things like location, outdoors, on the road, perhaps. That might say that. On the road. Sound effects, there might have been some music, so you just note that there's music going on there. If there's any visual effects, you'd write about that. If there's any comments that you think are worth making, you could put them down there. Once you did page 2, you could make a copy of that and go to page 3 and drag in or place your new screen grabs. And you work your way right through the end of the TV commercial. Don't forget to change all these shot numbers up the top. I'm on page 3, so I'm up to shot number 7, shot number 8, shot number 9, and so on. When I got right to the end, I'd have to make note of how many pages I had and go back and change the master number of total pages. Let's just assume that this thing has only got 3 pages. So what I do is I go back to the master page, double click on that, and where it says of page numbers, I change that to a 3. That's assuming I had 3 pages in total. For this TV commercial, I'm going to end up really with a lot more pages than 3 of them. Probably end up with 7 or 8, maybe more. This page is number 1, so that can stay the way it is. This page here, number 2, so I better change that. Double click on page number 3, and we'll have page 3 of 3. Let's save that. Last thing I want to do is export this thing out as a PDF. So I go File menu, Export. I'm going to stick it in my TVCs folder along with everything else. Format Adobe PDF Print. I'm going to click Save. And there's various choices here of high quality print and a whole heap of other stuff. Might want to go for the smallest file size if you want to email it to somebody. The graphics will be pretty low resolution. I'm not worried about storage space at the moment, and I don't want to email this thing, so I'm going to go, let me see, high quality print, that'll do. I don't really need to change anything here. I could click this little box, View PDF after exporting, just to check that it's okay, so I might do that. Everything else, I can just leave it. Click Export. It makes my PDF, and because I tick that box, View PDF after exporting, it should open itself up. And there it is there. Job done. Page 1, page 2, page 3. Obviously I would have filled in all these details for every panel. But that gives you a bit of an idea of how to use InDesign to fill in your template.